Good day, comrades and friends. I just wanted to do a quick video to kind of summarize how trauma is encoded within our neurology with a visual aid. Um, my wife and myself, as holographic manipulation therapists, get this question many times throughout the day from a variety of people asking us, um, what happens when someone is traumatized, and how does your therapy work, and how is it different than other methods? One thing is other methods don't address the entire holographic memory. Um, and as well as if there's a lesson encoded within that memory or that experience that the neurology has put in place to protect you, and you don't get that lesson, you're not going to fully resolve that memory. And that's why many times you might have some change work done, but the memory comes back, either because there was a fragment left of the hologram or there was a lesson encoded. And holographic manipulation therapy has effective ways of bypassing both of those. So, how does trauma occur in the body? Well, if we're going to look at trauma, one thing we want to understand is how memories are encoded in the body. So, if this is baseline, and this is what we'll call terminal event, okay, and this is basically the threshold of what our nervous system can handle. It's equivalent to if you had a rubber band and you were stretching it out and stretching it, and then you stretched it a little farther, and now the rubber band has lost that elasticity. Well, our nervous system is the same. So if we're going such a state of neurological arousal that we hit terminal event, chances are we'll die. So this is what we'll call baseline and terminal event. And as we're going through, we have different levels of neurological arousal through life. We have our ups and downs. And then what happens with the traumatic experience is the neurological arousal is so high and so extreme that it starts to rise in its level. Now, an interesting thing happens. The unconscious mind is recording everything that has ever occurred to you since the moment of conception and even before that. But the unconscious mind is recording this. And what happens is, as it gets near terminal event, because it knows that's the limit, a very interesting thing happens. It's actually encased and coded off. The entire system actually goes offline momentarily. That's why sometimes you'll see a woman faint or something like that during an extreme neurological arousal, during a very traumatic event. Um, the entire system encases this, and everything going on in that moment, what you knew, what you feel, what you're experiencing, what your senses are gathering from the outside environment, is actually encased in this container. And it begins to run on an endless loop over and over and over and over and over and over. So this is what we would call a holographic memory. It's a container that stores everything that's happened up to that level of trauma. Now, the way the neurology is designed, if we survive this, what happens is the entire system goes back online, and we actually, come to, and we start to go back to normal life. Life goes back to normal. However, there's this encased holographic universe, almost like a separate entity encoded within our body, that is still running. It doesn't know the event's over. And that's why many times people have post traumatic stress, or they have heightened levels of arousal. Their fight or flight mechanisms are elevated. It's because they've experienced high levels of trauma, and they have a significant number of these holographic memories throughout their body. Again, somatic science, we have 1,000 neurons per cubic inch of our body. And so you can store a memory in any one of those. Now, holographic manipulation therapy is different because it addresses the entire hologram. We have techniques specific to actually go in there and remove all the fragments out. A hologram has millions of fragments. Each one contains the entire image of what's going on. And if any of these fragments are left behind, which is often the case with hypnosis and EMDR and EFT tapping, things like that, they can reduce the energy level of this, but they'll leave fragments behind. If any of those fragments are triggered, the entire memory comes back. The person's actually reliving it. Your brainwave state goes identical to when this trauma occurred, and your physiological distress and your neurology instantly matches it. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the memory or the actual event itself.